Good morning, world. This is Two Grumpy Old Men. I'm Tim Bagwell, and with me, as usual, and as always,
I am Rich
Mr.
Garling.
Rich Garling.
Well,
Rich, I, I saw
so
some
Tim, what are we
stuff
talking
you wrote
about
on
today?
Substack. I saw some stuff. I saw some stuff you wrote on Substack about Congress and its inactivity, or especially with the emphasis on health and what's going on in Congress or not going on in Congress right now. So, what's going on or not going on in Congress? What's your
Oh,
take?
lots of things. Lots of things are not going. Do you know that this has been rated as one of the worst Congresses ever? They've actually only passed 57 bills this year. I was surprised at that number. I thought it was a lot less.
Well, that goes along with worst president and worst Supreme Court. So, it's a trifecta of worstness.
Oh, exactly, exactly. But what I talked about is it's in my uh, piece. On I've been talking about a more perfect union and what it is that the idea behind all of that. What we've always strived for in this country for 250 years is perfecting our union and what we've got here. And we know it's not perfect. We know that we constantly have to work at it. But I think the key that I'm really stressing here quite a bit is the fact that we have a document called the U.S. Constitution that allows for us to be able to strive for that more perfect union. It allows us to be able to change things that we disagree with. It allows us to be able to mold it and make it so that it fits the current times. Mind you, it's not easy. Not easy. It's not
Well,
supposed to be.
and,
It's not meant to be easy.
and based on agreement of some kind. The
Yeah,
parties agree on
right.
something.
And yeah, but everybody has to come together and agree. Okay. Now, mind you, in that time period, that 250 years, we've managed to do it right sometimes and to do it wrong sometimes. Right now, we're in a period of where we're kind of doing it wrong. All right, and
Absolutely.
all this, and so one of the things that I talk about in my article is the fact that it seems like uh, uh, delay is the default. They're doing it on purpose.
Agree.
Okay, Congress is hesitating, leaders are stalling, institutions drift as a result of all of this, and so what you want to try to do, let's put it this way, you got to act. Okay. In a lot of cases, people, yeah, I mean, the first thing you really have to do is you have to take care of yourself. Okay. But you always have to keep what's happening to others in mind here. All right.
That's
And
part of it.
yeah, well, it's kind of like the golden rule, do unto others as others do unto you. And that you want to look at self,
Well, I
because
think it's as you would want them to do unto you.
okay, yeah, before they do it to you, really, exactly. And that, no, but the idea is to live by that golden rule, and that and so you have to look at taking care of yourself. So, for instance, with Gail and myself, all right, we make sure that we've taken care of ourselves. So now we're in a position to be able to help others.
Right.
Okay, because you don't live in an island. But the key question here is always, well, when do I act? What, do I wait? And a lot of times, no,
Right.
you don't wait. You got to move. You and I, for instance, are acting now, and our discussions and our podcasts are always concerned about not only ourselves, but we're also always concerned about others and the way the actions of this current administration are treating others. And so we're acting by pointing out what's happening out there and giving people ideas as to how to solve these issues. And that's what this series of articles that I'm doing is all about. It's about, hey, this is what's happening. This is how it's impacting not only moi, but you.
Right.
And so
And
and here's how you act. Here's how you can face this situation and how we can together, resolve it, make it so that we're closer to that more perfect union.
Agreed. The thing that they're delaying right now, and most seriously, is the health care, the the providing of a reasonable health care plan, reasonable insurance. And they want to get rid, the Republicans want to get rid, to kill off ACA, Affordable Care Act, that is the Obamacare, which is really why they want to kill it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right. Well, they want to kill off any Democratic success going all the way back to Roosevelt. But this when what they're talking about now with they're buying from Amazon, buying from Costco. Again, we're back to an old system of who has the time or the acuity to go through a policy and figure out, is this going to work for me?
Right.
You don't know if it works for you until you have to use it. And so many times in the old ways, you got screwed. You know, you got screwed. This wasn't covered. That wasn't covered. Your kid's not covered for a certain time period. They want to trash everything. And Jon Stewart pointed this out in one of his episodes. Middleman. We can't seem to do anything without cutting the middleman in to get their part.
Right.
You know, even with ACA, we have the Advantage plans, which makes it so that we don't fire every insurance person. That's okay, but but still, so much of it is forcing people into decision making that they're not necessarily equipped to do. You know, and it comes back to, and I think they're wrecking everything so much that I am hopeful that when this is all the dust all settles somehow, that we do have a national health care plan, Medicare for all, and coverage for all, including hearing and dental, and eye, so that people are healthy, and live longer lives, and feel confident,
live better
and
lives.
not. Yeah, Europe has zero, but most of Europe has zero bankruptcies related to healthcare costs.
Right.
We have, percentage-wise, 0% over there. Where over here, I forget what the percentage is, but the fact that we have any percentage whatsoever is disgusting.
Exactly.
And people get saddled with this.
Exactly. It seems as if, okay, the Republicans are always screaming, sitting there saying that there's problems, with Obamacare, with the ACA, and yet they can't seem to come up with an answer as to what would replace it. What's the alternative? What are you proposing? They never have a proposal. All they're screaming about is that it's no good. But yet everybody out there in the country, who participates in, the ACA, and on the open market for insurance realizes that, hey, it's the best thing that they've got. Could it be better? Yes. But the Republican Party, the oligarchs, the bros, out there, they don't want any of this at all. In fact, they would just as soon go back to times where none of this was ever available. Now, can you imagine? Can you imagine as a family, out there, and you've got young kids? I was just, what was it? I was on 60 Minutes last night, and there is this particular disease that causes your muscles to just atrophy. Now, honestly, I forget the name of the disease, but I understand that the medicine that's available that helps to cure this, because apparently there's something missing in your genes, okay, that calls out to the muscles for them to do their thing. And if the muscles don't do anything, they atrophy. And eventually you die because you nothing's happening. And one muscle that really needs to be, activated or kept going is the heart. Okay? And so this medication that resolves all of this costs millions of dollars. Literally millions of dollars.
Right.
And nobody knows exactly what causes the disease, but Republicans don't want to resolve the issue. They don't want to, those guys don't want to have to pay for any of this stuff. They think that we should.
Yeah.
That's part of why the tariffs exist, because it's a case of where, okay, the bros are only paying taxes through tariffs on what they purchase, and they feel that everybody else should do the same thing. Rather than sharing the burden, they prefer that it be pushed onto us so that they don't have to pay any of it. But yet they benefit from much of this. They just don't want to have to pay for it, and they want to make it so that we're we're dependent on them
Yes.
rather than the other way around. You
Yeah,
know, and that,
slavery
and
is always the model. Feudalism and slavery is always the model that we're fighting against.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And in
yeah.
case people don't understand what,
Fascism.
yeah, well, I think some people may not understand necessarily what feudalism is, and that, and it's, well, you probably maybe some folks have heard of the word serfdom. Okay,
Yes.
in which you basically have a prince, or a king or whatever, who rules over all of the land and everything that's in there. You don't own anything. It's all by the king's choice as to what is going to happen with that.
Yeah.
Even to the point as to what, there's. It's interesting in that they even think that they own everybody in your family and they can do whatever they want with everybody in your family,
Right.
and you have no choice in the matter. And all
Right.
this, and that's
Well,
in a sense that's what they are hoping for.
if you think about it, the Red America is the serfdom.
Hmm.
They just don't, and serfs hardly ever realize that they're serfs.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, they don't know anything
Yeah,
else in life.
yeah, right. It takes them a long time to rebel against their conditions.
Well,
And we see
an
that.
uneducated population is really what they would like to see.
Right, right. And if you want an education, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay through the nose for it, and that
Right.
debt becomes another part of your problem, and that debt becomes another reason why you can't buy a home, why you can't have equity.
Right.
You know,
So we see all these
Ba- ba-
problems.
ba-
We see these
Yeah.
problems, but so the key here is how
It's not
do
a
we
problem
fight
for them.
against this? No, it's not
They
for
don't see it
them,
as a problem.
but it is for us. And the question is how do we fight this? When do we act? Do we wait? And hope that these people, see the light and are nice and kind to us and start to give us money. Well, believe me, you're going to be waiting forever before that actually happens. And there's none of the millionaires, none of the oligarchs out there ever did anything because they were nice about it. Very, very few
Yeah.
people. Very few.
No, they only give whenever they realize they better give something, or the masses will come, or the veterans will come and get them in particular. You don't mobilize millions of young people and then not give them anything for the effort that they put into it, because they know how to organize a unit.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got things going on out there right now. These various crises and that. So you got Medicaid cuts. You got election imbalance. There's a whole reason, folks, why it is that we've got this gerrymandering going on. Why it is that they're making it difficult for people to vote, because they don't want to lose the control. They know they've only got 2 years in which to make everything happen that they want to have happen, because in 2026, when people start to realize that they really don't like what it is that they're doing, they're going to vote their ass out of office. And so they want to make it so that it's almost impossible for that to happen come 2026. And that's why the
Right.
gerrymandering you see is happening. That's why you see them, against, being able to vote by mail, and that, why it is that they're making it so that you have to show some kind of identification. Well, here's the key. I have no real big problem with showing identification. What I have a problem with is how difficult they make it for me to be able to get that identification.
Yes.
And that real ID thing, that's interesting, because I was just reading did you see the one where the guy ICE kidnaps this guy, who they said they kidnapped him because they said he looked like Somalian. All right, he's sitting there trying to show his real ID to them. He's got a real ID. The guy's been a citizen all of his life. He's trying to show them his real ID, and they won't accept it. They say he's got to have, his immigration documents. And he's like, dude,
I'm not an
I was
immigrant.
born here. And
Well, this
they
is
wouldn't believe him.
This is the kind of stupidity that happens in fascism, is that they're allowed to make these assumptions and act at will over things they don't understand, things they don't, or they don't want to understand. They just want to exercise, as they say in South Park, their authority.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you watch, you're watching Fox News all the time, right? It's. I don't know if you. I haven't. I was watching it the other day, only because I was over at my doctor's office, and that's all they got
Thanks for
on the
apologizing.
TV. Oh yeah, and that and everything. And oh no, I trust me, I don't watch it on any regular basis whatsoever.
Yeah.
But once in a while, you got to take a look at it and understand, that this is the stories that a lot of people in America are being presented with. All right, and to give you an example, what they were talking about were the shootings in Australia. Okay, in Sydney,
Yes.
Australia, at what was it, Bondi, they called it, or something like that. I couldn't help but look at it and think it was Bondi,
Bondi. Yeah, it's Bondi. Bondi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the eyes.
they pronounce
Yeah.
it differently for some reason, and all
Bondi.
this. And so far, I think is what 15, 16 people have died from the shooting there, by a father and a son, who had this thing about Jewish people, but Fox News made no mention about Brown University whatsoever, not a one. And a friend of my wife's, they're very nice people, and I love them, but they're Trumpists. They had, he had been in the military. She's been a military wife, and everything, and they knew nothing about the Brown University shootings because Fox News wasn't reporting it.
No, that's the only thing they watch.
Yeah, so all these shootings don't happen here in the United States. They happen over in other countries. And, but it's kind of like prices aren't going up according to the government, but yet we all
Yeah.
experience it, realize it, and see it that it's happening. So, it's amazing. It's just
Well,
amazing.
I will. When we talk about your apologies for the catching Fox. I only watch Fox when I see my YouTube listing saying Fox host is screwed. Whenever they get caught in one of their crazed
Oh yeah.
crazed
Oh
mistakes.
yeah. You get down to it. Fox News has really been the only one that's been actually, has made a settlement so that they can avoid being found guilty of lying. All right. Well, I'm sorry, folks, but when you make a settlement, you're basically admitting it. Even though they sit there and they claim that they're not admitting it, then, well, okay, let me ask you this. If it isn't true, if you aren't really lying, then why are you paying millions of dollars to somebody about it?
Exactly.
And they just, oh my God, because, hey, I'm sorry, but CBS, I mean, that's been
Oh.
taken over by oligarchs, and that's going to turn into a piece of garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that ABC, Disney and all them, they succumbed to things. The only one that hasn't so far has been NBC. And they want to take over a whole bunch of stuff, with them. Paramount's trying to take over Warner Brothers, because they put in a
But Netflix also wanted Warner Brothers, so it's a bit.
well, Netflix actually made a legitimate offer. Warner Brothers invited them to make that offer. Okay,
Right.
where Warner Brothers is coming in and they're doing what's called a hostile takeover.
Paramount's coming in. Paramount's coming
Yeah, Paramount.
in. Yeah.
Did I say Netflix? I apologize.
No, you said Warner Brothers is coming in to do a household takeover.
Yeah, Warner Brothers is taking over itself. Yeah. No, that doesn't work real well. No, you're right.
That's why we're
Paramount.
grumpy old.
Yeah, that's why we're comfy old men.
Our errors are covered by age.
Yeah.
Our wisdom and our errors are both covered by the same model.
We both admit that we're getting old. Well, that and the fact that we can't really hide it too well.
Well, I gotta say, I will just for the purposes of this conversation, I will disclose. I kind of like the idea of either the Warner Brothers. I don't have to pay for it, and it's on Netflix, or I pay for Paramount, so because they have some good stuff. And
Well, they do, but-
if Warner Brothers is added to anybody that I'm subscribing to me that's a good thing. And I'll just stop right there because it's not really a good thing, but it's kind of to have all of
Well,
Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Truth be told, I pay for Netflix. So yeah, I'll be happy to get some Warner Brothers stuff, and all that. Hey, be able to watch CNN, without it costing me money.
Yeah.
And that, all right, and all that. Even though I don't, there's something about like MSNBC when it was there. Now, what's it called? MS Now and
MS Now.
Yeah, because NBC
News
said that
Opinion
they wanted
World.
to get rid of all their cable stuff for some reason. You know, I thought that. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Rachel,
Yeah.
what, Rachel Maddow's now on MS now, and I don't, I love Rachel
They're
Maddow.
jumping.
I think she's fantastic, but I don't watch her mostly because of the fact that she's preaching to the choir. I'm like, why should I?
Well,
I
that's
already
a
know
problem.
that I agree. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a problem with the new media. We're trying to struggle with it. We're trying to get the message out. They're trying to get the message out. They have a bit more. They have a corporation that supports them and an infrastructure. But you've got like Occupy Democrats. There's I don't know where our
Oh,
invitation
Midas
to all
Touch
the
over
others.
here. Yeah, you got
What?
Midas Touch, which has grown real big.
Midas
And
Touch, yeah.
Midas Touch is now not just in the United States; it's in Canada and it's in Australia, and they're planning a European division.
Wow,
And that,
that's cool.
and I actually see the demise of the mass media, the main media, we'll call it that. Okay, and I see the rise of the independent media, mostly because of the fact that a lot of folks out there are beginning to realize that the independent media, people like you and me, are bringing out news and perspectives about things out there that you do not see on NBC, CBS, AB, any of those. And that,
I don't know if you recall during the '60s how CBS would run things like a CBS white paper.
Yeah.
It would be a documentary about a major problem in the country, usually
Right.
a social problem that needed to be
Right.
addressed, and they would do these things. It's like not anymore. None of them
Nope.
really
Nope.
do that.
No. Well,
And
you got to remember too that who was it? Walter Cronkite. Um, uh, uh, when Walter Cronkite came out against the Vietnam War,
Yes.
on that, and Richard Nixon was even the one who basically, or was it Lyndon Johnson? I forget which.
It was Johnson. It was Johnson.
Yeah, it was Johnson. Right, who basically said, we lose Walter Cronkite, we lose the nation, on
Yeah.
Vietnam, and that because everybody watched those people and they trusted them. Now, not everybody's watching them and they don't trust them.
Excuse me. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's hard to trust any of them. And you trust the satirists because they're satirizing, and satire is based on truth. It's based on pointing out what is true, and
Yes.
and that's why it's so both informative and funny.
Yeah, and so more and more people are getting their news from these independent sources. And so what is the present administration trying to do? They're trying to figure out a way to shut down the internet.
Right. Right.
And that because
Yeah.
they don't-
A shutdown of YouTube would be a tragic thing.
It would,
And
it would be.
yeah.
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 They're slowly controlling the main media, and it's funny too because here they are going about trying to control the main media. I mean, you see things, like Trump going after CBS and ABC, and others, and you see Paramount. They gave them that big deal and everything, and all because the daughter of the original owner, decided that she wanted to sell everything and get rid of it, but the only way she could do it was to make a deal with Trump. And that's because of the 60 Minute suit and all this. So you see now the conservative side of things taking over all of these mainstream medias. Right, and the only thing they got left to do is try to control it all. But they sit there and they say that they're all liberal-oriented, news organizations and all of this, and that's their justification for taking them all over and allowing for them to have a monopoly on a lot of these. Because
the problem they're finding is people are going to turn that off. They're going to turn it off. They're not going to trust it, and I'm hoping that we're so big that Trump shall fail, and and that, but the reforms that'll be needed will be phenomenal. The reform era that I hope we're around for the reform era of the American Republic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. Well, I have
the
faith in the American people. I think they'll when they start to talk out, it's when it starts to affect the pocketbook. And
Right.
all this, and that's what they're really getting pissed off about now is the fact that prices have not come down. They're still paying more for things than they used to. I mean, you can't afford a home. you can't afford to educate your children, and you're having troubles trying to afford just to feed your family
Yes.
and all this. And they blamed Biden for it at first, and the argument at that time, was, well, your paychecks are bigger, and they were. I mean, the reality was your paychecks were bigger, but the problem, of course, is that you get that 3% pay increase, and what do? They raise your insurance rates by 3%.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what was,
yeah.
So what was the point?
Yeah.
And I remember,
I have the small student loan. I'm waiting to hear what the changes that have happened to the student loan program. If my little $89 a month is going to go up, and which I've been, at $89 a month is nothing. So that student loan can stay there until I pass, but because I pay it every month, and helps me maintain a credit history. So, but I'm still
well, that's
curious,
true.
how that affects so many other people.
Yeah.
So many other people
Yeah.
are affected by
Well,
this.
it sounds like, because you do, well, what I do is that once in a while I have to go out and actually buy something on credit just to maintain my credit history. Well, my father-in-law, all right, guy's 93 years old. He doesn't have a credit card, and he can't get one because he doesn't have a credit history because he was paying cash for things, all the time.
Yep.
And that now
My
suddenly
brother did this too.
yeah, and now you need a credit card, and you can't get one because you don't have a credit history. And I find that
Right.
interesting because, back when I was in college, can you remember? You remember when you were first in college, and all of a sudden the credit card companies were sitting there asking you to apply for a credit card?
No, they were
And I'm like, I got
credit
no
at us.
history.
They were throwing stuff at us.
Oh my God, I remember that. Ah, geez, and it's
Yeah,
like, wait a
yeah.
minute, I
Well,
got no history.
we were the boomers. We were the boomers, and
Oh, yeah.
that was part of the. Yeah, we were maintaining the boom by buying into credit and all that. And then they just started deregulating it so that cards are 16 to 25% now. Yeah,
Or higher.
credit
Oh.
unions. Yeah, yeah.
But nowadays, I like when I use my credit card, I pay the bill off every month.
Right.
And I try not to, and I try to keep within a certain limit, so that this way here, it's like, okay, in my budget, I can afford this much credit.
Right.
Okay, and I pay it off, this way here. I never get charged the interest rates or any of that kind of stuff. But I mean, imagine eventually they're going to sit there and decide that, well, they don't like that idea and they ought to charge us interest rates anyway.
Exactly.
My God,
Oh.
my God. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
It looks like
we're pretty
looks
close
like
up.
yeah, I think we talked.
I think we're close enough.
About everything,
It's good that we don't. It's good not to go over.
Yeah, I think we talked about just about everything. Got the world's problems resolved.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm Tim. This has been Two Grumpy Old Men. I'm Tim Bagwell,
and I'm Rich Gerling.
and we'll see you next time.
We bid you farewell.
Bye bye.